Anaw lang kang Jesus, siyang imong paglaom. Ang tanan nga butang mga hanaw lang sa adlaw sa iyang paghukom. Sa adlaw sa iyang
Sa tinino you. Don't lose hope soon, 'cause Jesus will descend. Signs of the times are everywhere. There's a brand new feeling in in the morning, I get on my knees. I did learn from the Master, he taught me to pray. I read on from the scriptures, the patience of Job. Keep on your faith and live with hope. Jesus is the Redeemer and friend, the only comforter when you feel you're alone. He will be there when you cry out. Keep on your faith and live with hope. When you get in trouble, lift up your head and look up to the mountains.
Test mic.
Where your help
Testing
comes
mic.
from. You surely have a refuge all night, all day. Keep on your faith and live with
Baro lang
hope.
siya kay mo exit.
Jesus is the Redeemer and friend, the only comforter when you feel you're alone. He will be there when you cry out. Keep on your faith and live with hope. Why don't you trust in Him? He's faithful and true. He promised to take us home on His own return. And don't never ever look back. Believe in His word. Keep on your faith and live with hope. Jesus is the Redeemer and friend, the only comforter.
Ang Diyos maayo.
Sa tanang panahon, maayong hapon kanatong tanan, ug ako kamo nga gina-welcome sa ato ang AY program this afternoon.
Yes, kaoba nato karon dinhi sa ato ang studio si Sister Jai Villarente.
Yes, ug nausab si Sister Liza Mendez. Grate.
Og ako si Jeffrey Valiaspin, magikaoban kaninyo karong hapon nga magapadayon sa ato ang AY Talks og sa atong programa. Amo kamo ginauhag sa tanan yung mga greetings og mga gustong ipanimbaya, i-comment lang sa atong comment section. Og sa tanan nga nag-view karon sa Facebook Live, welcome kamong tanan and happy Sabbath. Now, atong isunod ang before ta mag-start sa ato ang program, atong ihatag ang opening prayer nga iga-offer sa ato sa Ginoo ni Sister Lisa Grate.
Pagampo ta, among langit nung amahan, daghan kaing salamat Ginoo sa adlawng igpapahulay nga imong gihatag sa matag usa ka namo sa diin Ginoo nga simba kami diha kanimo ug makatuon sa imong pulong. O Ginoo niining kahaponon samtang kami magahimo sa among AY program. Ako nagaampo nga ikaw magapanalangin sa matag usa ilabi na gyud sa mga partisipante niining maong programa. Ginoo, dagang salamat sa imuhang pagkamaayo ug dagang salamat sa grasya nga among nabatnan gikan diha kanimo. Ug pasayloa kami Ginoo tungod kay kami makasasala man diha sa imong atubangan. Ug himua kaming hingpit sa pagdawat sa panalangin gikan diha kanimo uban sa kapasayloan sa among mga sala. Amen.
And now, atong ipadayon ang ato ang pagpanimbaya diha sa ato ang mga viewers. Welcome kamong tanan. Partner Jai, how are you this afternoon?
Yes, no? Thank you kaayo for this opportunity of being with you all. Labi na gid sa ato ang mga naga-live karon, no? I can see many who greet us a happy Sabbath here. So ato pud silang tagaan og gamay nga pagtimbaya, no, partner?
Yes.
Yes. Naa dinhi atong makitaan si Ma'am Edna Lamis Guanzon. Unya, ingon siya nga, okay. Si Luis Franz Ikarma, happy Sabbath.
Yes, happy Sabbath,
po
Luis.
sa imuha, brother. And si Ma'am Shella Navarro, yun siya, happy Sabbath, everyone.
Yes, and also kaoban usab nato si Shami Abiho Biangos. Happy AY everyone and God bless. Kauban po nato si Brother Lucky Jonex Ramos nagtanaw karong hapon and Sister Arlene Bustillos and ato ang former na kay turn over naman siya. Oh,
Yes.
si outgoing finance director,
Yes.
Vice President for Finance, Brother Willie Hondonero. Sir,
Yes, welcome,
sa
sir.
atong AY program. Ingon siya rin, happy AY everyone. And ato usab kaoban si Shane Mahorenos Mejia. Kaoban usab si Luel Grate. Happy Sabat diha kaninyong tanan. Og sa ato ang mga kaubanan diri sa studio, welcome usab kamong tanan nga nagatan-aw karong hapon. And partner Jai, kabalo ka
Yes.
nga exciting kay po ng ato ang topic karong hapon.
Of course, no? Because this afternoon we are going to talk about mental health.
Yes. And our mental health will be focused and ang title nga igahatag karon is Burnout and Compassion Fatigue. So,
yes, no? Para sa ato ang tanan maka-learn gyud ta ani mga kaigsuonan ug naapod mo lain nga mga ideas, no, after sa ato ang speaker nga mo share unya natay mga questions, so we will also give time to ask.
yes, partner. And sa tanan nga mga gusto pod nga mo greet, please comment down lang sa atong comment section kay ato ra nang basahon taod-taod. And karong hapon, unsa din ang atong burnout and compassion fatigue. Ato nang mahisgutan kauban sa ato ang guest speaker karong hapon.
Yes, no? Ato gyud siyang i-welcome nga bisan pa og nag-wait gyud siya og mga pila-pila ka mga panahon, pero sa gihapon no nakig-uban siya og nalipay ta niya na atong gina-recognize ang ato ang speaker karon nga kahaponon nga mo talk about sa ato ang topic nga burnout and compassion fatigue. Siya mao si
Atong ipalila atong speaker, siya is married ni siya with 2 kids, nga duha ka lalaki, and graduated at Adventist University of the Philippines with a degree in psychology. And nahimubot ni siyang MA holder in clinical psychology. And siya po nagatrabaho dito sa university, instructor siya dito o counselor sa University at Asia Pacific International University at Thailand. Okay. Grabe gyud ni atong speaker karon
Yes.
at tangi gyud mga kaigsuonan. And at present, she is taking PhD in counseling. So in progress ang iyang kuan sa
Studies.
study.
Sa iyang
Okay.
doctorate.
So dili na ta magdugay mga kaigsunan, atong
Yes.
ihatag ang panahon sa ato ang speaker karong hapon, Sister Cherry May Huayno. Sister Cherry, kauban siya karon nato sa Zoom, via Zoom.
Everyone.
Yes,
Happy
happy Sabat,
Sabat.
Ma'am Che. Kumusta ka?
Mabuti naman po.
Okay. So, for the information of everybody, sa Ate May Ay is, I used to call her Ate May, kanang Ilongga. Ate May, right? So, she can talk also in Cebuan. So, ato nang ihatag sa iya ang
Okay.
time, partner.
Yes, partner Jai. And Sister Cherry, unsa kang ato ang mahibal-an karon sa ato ang kuan or basing na kay ipanimbaya atong ihatag ang panahon kay Sister Cherry.
Okay. My turn, all right?
Yes, yes.
Go on.
Today, this afternoon, I'm going to talk about burnout and compassion fatigue. And I hope that talk will inspire and give you ideas how to protect yourself. Okay, let me share my screen with you. How can I share screen? Okay. All right. Mm, I'm not sure how to do. Okay. All right. Good afternoon once again to everyone. Um, Sorry, I don't know how to. Let's go back to the title. All right. Um, I know you want to focus more on the what's that? Compassion, fatigue, and burnout. But the most important part is that how we are going to keep our love cup full in order to avoid overcoming compassion. I mean, in order to avoid compassion, fatigue, and burnout. So I titled it "Keeping Your Love Cup Full." Right? Overcoming compassion fatigue and burnout. So I hope you will find uh, the topic helpful to you this afternoon. So let's determine or define first what is compassion fatigue. So we can have an understanding ano po ba yung compassion fatigue or ano ang compassion fatigue. So compassion fatigue is defined as profound emotional and physical erosion that takes place when helpers, focusing on the helpers, are unable to refuel or regenerate. Um, Dr. Charles Figley is the one who coined this term compassion fatigue. He is the one who found the Traumatology Institute. Because it's interesting that he observes that those who are helping in the helping profession, they're suffering from a certain condition that they suddenly become less empathic to those people whom they are helping. So we will explore more about this. Uh, have you ever asked yourself, or did you come to the point that whether you're a medical practitioner, for example, or even a teacher, it's not limited to helping profession only, okay? Because, for example, university instructors, other fields are also helping others in the profession. I mean, helping students in their profession. So they are also in the helping profession, considered in the helping profession. So this is not only limited to medical practitioners, such as our nurses, our doctors, and so on. Have you ever asked yourself, again, the question, have you ever asked yourself, why don't I care about my coworkers, my students, if you're a teacher, my customers, if you're a businessman, for example, my relatives, if you're a family member who is the breadwinner or the one sustaining your family anymore? Excuse. I am sorry. Wake up time already. The kids woke up already. All right. So going back, what is compassion fatigue? Right. So other therapists or other experts define it as an empathic strain. So I asked you a while ago if you have started asking yourself, ginapamangkot, ano ba lang inyong kaugalingon, if uh, why I do not feel anything anymore whenever someone comes asking for help. Uh, why I seem to not care anymore. So if you are asking yourself that, And if the answer is yes, I actually feel that I feel empty, then you probably is experiencing compassion fatigue. So in extreme, it can impede feelings of empathy. That's why you do not feel anything, or you do not seem to relate to someone else's experiences anymore, and you don't seem to be concerned for others' welfare. You do not have concern for others' welfare. So compassion fatigue is the cost of witnessing and absorbing others' pain and suffering, not only at work. It could be at home also, especially if you're taking care of a patient at home, a family member who is sick, for example, or if you are witnessing students in your classroom who is suffering from depression and so on. So your exposure to them, your constant, it's not just a one-time exposure, okay? Your constant exposure to them could lead you to experience compassion fatigue. Constant exposure to someone who is always in distress. So, being around people who is actually in distress is bad for your mental health. Mental health problems. Not only they will suffer from mental health problems, but you will also suffer from mental health problems such as post-traumatic stress disorder and anxiety or depression, because it leads you to feel helplessness. How can I help this person? Especially if the person is so depressed that you can, of course, they cannot, even the person who is suffering from depression cannot control himself. And so you who is watching them deteriorate feels helplessness as well, and helplessness, because you do not think that you are actually beating yourself up as well. um, ano ang mahimo ko for this person? And because you cannot do anything, you suddenly feel negative also about yourself, which we are going to talk more about later. What about burnout? What is burnout? So, burnout is an unacknowledged state of exhaustion that occurs when you consistently make choices for the benefit of others. So, if you keep on, for example, um, insisting, uh, doing something, um, even if you do not like, even if you do not enjoy, you do it anyway for someone else at your expense, it would somehow lead to burnout if you constantly do it. Not just one time, but you constantly make a choice for the benefit of others. Okay, so that's burnout. And burnout can lead to other health implications. It could be you're suffering from headache because you're always thinking of negative situations. So most likely you will suffer headache. And if you're um, under stress, the tendency is you are going to have digestive disorders. You cannot process food properly. Either you will suffer from constipation or diarrhea. And then it's like every time you are waiting for something wrong to happen. That's anxiety. Uh, Even if you are happy, even if you look at your surrounding, even if the surrounding or the environment seem to be well and happy, you are hyper vigilant and waiting for something bad to happen. That's anxiety. And then sadness, extreme sadness, or the kind of what's this mood that you lose interest of what you used to enjoy. So those are the result. Those might be the result of when you started, when you experience burnout. But we don't want that to happen. So it's good that we have this kind of talk, so we will know and be reminded of what are the things that we can do in order to avoid going into this extreme. So, mental and physical exhaustion by one's work, that's burnout. Indifference and cynicism towards clients and work when you started, responding in a sarcastic, cynical way. Be watchful of your words and your response to people because you might be experiencing burnout. A feeling of professional failure and helplessness, that's another symptom. A feeling of personal failure and self hatred to the point that when you cannot do anything or help or do something, you look at yourself in a negative way to the point that you hate yourself. Complete burnout, totally you do not feel anything at all, and you just uh, do or perform your task without really being committed into it. So most likely it will be not result into something that is good, right? Kung nagaobra kita sa isa ka bagay that our heart is not in it, most likely it will not be good. The outcome will not be good. So these are the signs and symptoms of compassion fatigue. Okay, so in the current highly stressful environment as what we have right now because of COVID-19, because of the pandemic, highly likely that people in the medical area, our nurses, our doctors, our anyone working with patients, for example, most likely experience compassion fatigue. All right, and even our teachers who are facing um, what's this? Our students, for example, in our university right now, we have students coming from Myanmar, and Myanmar right now is not a good place to be because of the military coup. So these students are always bothered by the conditions of their family or their loved ones back home, and then they come to your office and they look at you and they look at this as they're spacing out because their mind is not in the lectures, in the lesson. Their mind is in their family back home. And you as a teacher might feel helpless because you wanted, of course, to help them. Or you see someone suffering from abuse, for example, and you seem to have no capacity to help. So these kind of experiences might lead you to start avoiding helping people or talking to people whom you think you cannot help, you know? So you started feeling exhausted listening to their problems over and over again. You might feel exhausted watching people in your care dying. Most likely, you will have difficulty sleeping because you are hyper vigilant of what's gonna happen next, who's going to die next, or whose patient needs emergency response. For example, if you're a nurse or a doctor, so intrusive thoughts about the condition of your patients or the condition of people under your care. And of course, when you are exhausted and too preoccupied with all these negativities around you, your heart might get uh, dissatisfaction or dissatisfied with what is happening, especially if you lack what's that facilities. It adds to your feelings of helplessness. If especially if the hospitals lack the funding that they need in order to cater for patients who need emergency response, it could be on you, so it leads you to feel not only be dissatisfied with yourself but dissatisfied with the workplace, dissatisfied with other people whom you expect to supposed to be to do something about whatever conditions you think needs resolution or to be resolved. And then there's sense of lack of control or energy in your love, because of course you cannot do anything. Sometimes you cannot do something without following protocol, so that could also lead you to experience compassion fatigue. Feelings of being overwhelmed by the amount of work to be done, especially now, since a lot of our workforce got laid off. So those who remain has to take other people's loads. And so it could be too much. So anger and irritability is one symptom. Reducing ability to feel empathy, which is the main thing that people experience if they are having compassion fatigue. They started being numb, that they just look at someone. Okay, I heard someone died. Okay, nothing anymore that strikes them, because well, it's an everyday thing for me to see. So what? So reduced ability to feel empathy or sympathy. Avoidance of reminders of upsetting experiences with patience. So it can lead them to more anger and more irritation. So increased use of alcohol and other drugs. Oh, you will be surprised of people who resorted into alcohol and drug use in order to forget what they are being exposed to on a daily basis. So those are the signs and symptoms of compassion fatigue. And it's good to be reminded of them. So you will be aware of, yourself, evaluate yourself. Am I experiencing compassion fatigue or something like that? So burnout, on the other hand, focused more on the physical aspects, as uh, burnout focuses more on the physical aspect with a little bit of emotional dissatisfaction with burnout. Okay, so you experience exhaustion, physical exhaustion. You feel isolated. You tend to escape through fantasies instead of facing your problems. And then irritability, frequent illness. So people who are actually over abusing themselves, the tendency is, because they cannot say no, all right? The tendency is they are not only physically but not mentally healthy as well. So before experiencing complete burnout, a person may experience presenteeism. um, I'm not sure if you are familiar with this word, but the author says presenteeism is when one is physically at work. So you probably learned some new word today. You are physically at work. We call this actually physically present but mentally absent, right? We usually hear this kind of what's this? Saying physically present, mentally absent, because you are physically at work or at school, but you are unable to perform at a normal capacity. So this may due to physical or mental illness or other reasons. It could be perceived lack of support at work, or your work-life conflict, because of work-life conflict or stress. So presenteeism has been associated with poorer, as I've said a while ago, physical health and mental well-being, which lead a person to experience burnout, right? This is not surprising though, especially if at this time. Especially, I mean, at this time, we have the pandemic. We're in the middle of a pandemic. So it is not surprising that we experience compassion fatigue and burnout. So Dr. Naomi Remen says the expectation that we can be immersed in suffering and lost daily and not be touched by it is as unrealistic as expecting to be able to walk through water without getting wet. So most likely we will experience, a lot of people are experiencing compassion fatigue and um, burnout. All right. Now, I want you to consider this situation before we go to or we dive into simple things that we can do in order to combat what's this compassion fatigue, and burnout. So you and someone you care about are on a hike. So I want you to imagine it, enjoying a beautiful day in the woods, and suddenly your compassion slips. Your companion, I mean, your companion or your friend slips on a muddy bank and falls into a swiftly moving river. What are you going to do? Are you going to jump in and try to rescue your companion or your friend? Find a branch to hold out and tell the person to grab the branch? It actually happened when a group of students visited, because in AUP, at the back of AUP, we have what we call Japanese cave. It's unique cave because when you it has two openings that when you actually get inside, you can actually exit on the other side. But inside, it's full of water and it has, you know, very dark inside. But a group of students somehow visited that one, and going back to the school, when did it happen? 2000, I forgot the year. When they went to the back to the university, the there was a strong rain, and then the creek that or the river that they are supposed to cross over going back to the university got flooded all of a sudden, and there's a rush of water from the mountains coming down that a few who already stepped into the water and stood in the middle of the and stood on top of a rock in the middle of the wide river, for example, got you know swept by the strong current. And when the one student, for example, the brother, I think, on the river bank standing and saw what was happening on his brother, because they underestimated the current, and suddenly there was a rush of water. And so when the brother saw the other student, for example, two, I think, uh, being swept away by the current, he jumped without without thinking. He just jumped down to the river and trying to save the other one. Unfortunately, the one who jumped uh, died, and the one who actually got swept, some of them got swept, also died, but the one who he is trying to save, I think got into the side, was able to go to the side, and I think he survived. But the one who tried to help, you know, um, died, and the ladies who were with him, got swept as well, died in that flood by the river. So it was a tragic thing that happened in AUP during that time. So generally, especially with that kind of situation, very strong current, you don't know what you are diving into. For example, you don't know the strength of the current, uh, or you have seen the strength of the current, but you underestimated it and you just jump into it. So tendency is the one who, if it's good if the others survive, but generally people died as well, in situations like this, unless it's just you are an expert diver, for example. Even expert divers, I think, with currents as strong as like that, they will not survive as well. So in was this in a training for people who are actually good at saving, for lifeguard training, they were actually instructed to, when they try to save the person drowning in the water, sometimes they have to inform the person, I am coming to you, I am going to rescue you, so I want you to relax, and let me save you. Or when the person is too anxious and cannot stop flinging his arms, fighting, the being drawn, lifeguards sometimes wait for them to get tired before they rescue that person, because um, tendency is, if the person who is trying to rescue uh, come right after a person who is flinging his arms and kicking and uh, you know very anxious in the water, highly likely that you might get hit with their arms, and it might cause more accident, or it might injure you, and you will not be able to save. Or the tendency is that person will start hanging on to you and pushing you down, and instead of you rescuing her or him, you end up being, the one under, uh, or you end up being the one being drowned. So um, when you uh, see someone drowning, what do you do? Do you jump in and try to rescue your companion, or do you look for a thing around you in order to save that person? What if you had a rope? Then what would you do? So that's the question. Yeah. So think about it. If we anchor the rope around a tree and throw the other end to the person in the river, we can stay on the bank, grounded, and help in a way that provides a means for the person to struggle their own way out of the river. You provide, but let them save themselves, but you give them a lifeline. So, as advocates, our rope is our knowledge, our training, our experience, and we can use this to help our clients or our patients. But we have to be careful to maintain proper boundaries. We're going to talk about boundaries later on, and of course, core strength in the process of helping. We give them the lifeline, but you have to also protect yourself as you give lifelines. All right. So here are the strategies to improve life and avoid compassion fatigue and burnout. Sometimes we make things complicated. We want something grand, a solution that is really like with a bang, or solution that sometimes it's so impossible to do that you end up being discouraged. But these are solutions that you have heard before. It's just that you do not want to do it, or you fail to do it, or you fail to apply it for some reasons. All right. So people are often waiting for things in their life to change to make things easier. That's the thing. Um, we sometimes wait for things. Uh, I know I wanted to exercise. I know I need to exercise, but you know what? I don't have a dumbbell. I don't have a bike. I don't have a exerciser, for example, so I can start exercising. I want to do yoga, but I need a mat. So uh, we sometimes we want things to happen first. We wait for things to happen first before we do the things that we are supposed to do. And because of waiting for something, that sometimes opportunity passes, or you just got comfortable without applying the what is supposed to be the intervention for you. Like, it will be better when it will not rain today, so I can go have a run. I'll get to that thing After I buy a new set of leggings, for example. Once I have the leggings, I can go run, or once I have this equipment, I can do the exercise. So sometimes we we do such things. We wait for things to change. Or um, if my workplace changes, I'll start, you know, applying changes as well. So that could be a disaster. So research shows that 50% of our level of happiness, according to Dr. Sonia, um, 50% of our level of happiness and stress is genetically preset. That means genetically, um, we are already have this genetic makeup for something. That's 50%. Whether it influences our attitude towards things, or our personality, or our temperament, that's 50% given. 10% is based on life circumstances. So, like how much money we have, that's only 10%. Our job is only 10% of, you know, as a source of our happiness. Or if we are married or single, that's only the 10% part of our, you know, um, happiness. 40% is based on things within our control that are not connected to our life circumstances. And this is within, um, your capacity to do. That's 40%. You can actually like control this part of your life. So that's 40%. So these are the things that you can actually do. 40%, where your happiness is dependent 40% of it. All right. So how can I avoid burnout and compassion fatigue? First one is you practice self-care. Um, Very easy, right, to say, but it's actually very hard to do, because most of the time we are actually hard on ourselves. That when we rest, when we take a rest, we sometimes feel guilty, which is not supposed to be. Because what will happen to you if you're not resting? Um, can you can you be an effective helper if you are not, for example, getting enough sleep, or you're not eating at the right time, or eating proper meal, for example, if you just keep on eating instant meals, then most likely it will affect your physical health as well. And your physical health affects how you um, process things as well. If you're not physically healthy, your brain is not healthy, then the way you think also could not be healthy. um, Schedule time for the activities that bring you joy. So it means that you have to do it intentionally. Again, 40% of your happiness is within your boundaries to do, within your capacity to actually do. You can get yourself have you can actually have, if you will it, um, you can get enough sleep, you exercise regularly, you eat healthy food, you practice mindfulness. We are going to explore more about that later on. You set specific, measurable, and achievable, and realistic and timely self-care goals. For example, I need to have at least uh, kahit once a month massage. You really like intentionally do it. Or kahit once a month, um, what's this? Pedicure or manicure. That's self-care. Or kahit once a month that I would take a trip to So not so expensive places. There are a lot of not so expensive places that we can actually visit nearby now, because these things are sprouting around us. These business places that we can actually like swim in a nice pool, or swim in a falls, or take a rest, or just sit down and do sunbathing under the sun, in the beach, for example. So you can do these things, but it will not happen if you will not intentionally do it. So you have to really like set it as your self-care goal for yourself. So practice self-care. Now, self-care, we usually confuse self-care as something that is selfish to do, which should not be, because self-care is not a selfish thing to do. It's not about, as Nost said, taking care of myself doesn't mean me first. It means me too. Not me first, but me too. So when you do self-care, when you encourage others to take care of themselves, you too. So you have to take care of yourself as well. Um, when you are using your cell phone, as much as possible, you don't want it to run out of battery, right? The moment it signals 20%, or the moment it signals 10%, you are actually like anxious to plug it and recharge it. So if you can do that to your phone, how much for yourself? Yeah. If you don't care, I like this question. If you don't take care of your body, where will you live? So, which one would you prefer? Uh, you take care of your body once in a while, or 24, that you are no longer alive, 24 by 7, that you're no longer alive. So, you have to um, remember that you too need some care. Rest and self care are so important. When you take the time to replenish your spirit, it allows you to serve others from the overflow. You cannot serve from an empty vessel. So, yes, so you have to replenish yourself too, as well. Next strategy is you lean on your support system. It's very important to surround yourself with quality of friends. Probably when we were younger, we have a lot of people surrounding us. We have a gang of people. But as we go older, the quality of our friendship becomes smaller and smaller. I mean, the quantity of our friends becomes smaller and smaller, but we get quality friendships. So yes, lean on those people for support, especially if you have these people. But you have to nurture your relationship with them as well. Yeah. According to a research, it takes 5 hours. Those who are having successful marriage, a husband and wife relationship, they actually spend at least 5 hours just talking to each other, communicating, expressing gratitude. Not 5 hours of talking, of blaming and screaming and but 5 hours of quality talk. 5 hours of giving comfort, 5 hours of empathizing, 5 hours of encouraging, of in that 5 hours you are encouraging, you are appreciating each other, you are expressing gratitude, you are reminiscing of the good times that you have, and so on and so forth. So in that 5 hours every day. So the research says, um, people who have that kind of, who nurture the relationship in that way, um, have a stronger marriage. So that's a reminder for those who are husband and wife. So nurture your relationship as well. And every day with people, make sure that you spend 5 minutes quality time with people that you encounter. It takes 5 minutes to have connection, 5 minutes connection to people. For example, I will spend 5 minutes with this person, just listening and having an interaction with this individual, checking them out, and so on and so forth. So in that way you strengthen your social connectedness. Simple acts of kindness, those kind of things, um, increases your social connectedness, and it makes you feel good about yourself. It doesn't make you feel like a burden um, when you are thinking that you are strengthening your social connectedness, and you are doing simple acts of kindness. So connect with your coworkers or supervisors. Ask for support from your friends and family. Take note, connect. All right, not argue or insist and challenging, but you connect with your coworkers and your supervisors. In that way, they would hear you out, you would hear them out, and the better understanding will be achieved, and you can avoid being feeling or experiencing compassion fatigue or burnout, because there are things that you do not understand with your coworkers or with your boss, for example, that it leads you to start thinking negatively, and it leads you to experience or disliking the kind of work that you do that is being assigned to you, because you fail to connect. Right. So ask for support from your friends and family. You have loved ones who are just waiting for you to open up to them and connect to them. So, three, how can I avoid burnout and compassion fatigue? Set healthy boundaries. I have mentioned this one, I think, a while ago. So, work towards establishing a work life balance. What does it mean? There is what's that? There is a quote that uh, you go to your office on time, and you go home on time as well. Um, Unless of course in special occasions there are such a thing as overtime, yeah, but not all the time, yeah. So you go to work on time, and you go home on time as well, because there are other aspects in your life that needs you as well. So come work on a balancing, um, come up with an balancing work life, and then set emotional boundaries as well. So balancing compassion with professional distance. A while ago, I invited you to think about the scenario a while ago, when you are walking with someone and they you don't need to uh, what's that, like in our profession as a counselor. I just because I'm a counselor, I will just accept any patient or any client just because they have a problem. I cannot. I have to refer that person to someone who is much better than me, who can attend to his condition or her condition. Uh, I have to, to protect myself professionally and to protect myself personally. I have to do referrals, because I cannot take in something that I am not good at professionally, that is not my field, for example. So you have to set professional boundaries and emotional boundaries as well. Just because I feel empathy to you, and just because I feel bad with your situation, that I am willing to listen to you and so on and so forth, I will cannot, because I'm not the right person to help you. So yes, I can initially listen, but you have to be with the person who can be with you all the way until you finish a therapy, for example. So recognize boundaries may change over time. Not all our boundaries stay. So sometimes, probably your resources is not no longer enough, or what else? The kind of support that you have, the number of people that you have before, for example, is not enough. So you cannot take in uh, more load of things. All right. So your boundaries changes as well. Or because you have a more manpower now, you can welcome wider or bigger challenges. So recognize boundaries may change over time. If possible, limit your caseloads or the workday with a positive activity. So sometimes it's good to debrief. It's good to always do debriefing. So before you leave your office, for example, you can um, say a prayer of gratitude, or say a praise for yourself for what you have done for the day, or you pat your back for something that you have accomplished during that day, so you go home with a smile, not with a frown that, oh my goodness, tomorrow I'm going to do it again. Or yeah, so be thankful of the victory that you have done and you have accomplished during the time, during the day that you have worked on. All right. So end it with a positive activity. You could say a prayer of gratitude. You can what's this? Congratulate yourself for something, or you can treat yourself for an ice cream, or what's this? End it with a warm bath, soaking, a massage, or whatsoever. So limit friends and families' expectations for you to solve their problems, since you work in a helping profession. This is especially for those who are in a helping profession. Okay. Um, because for example, I have a lot of what's this? I deal with a lot of students having troubles. For example, um, having anxiety, having depression, having suicidal thoughts. For example, at school. So I would give my mom a heads up. I would inform her right now. My mind is full of this. For example, these are the things I have handled in the school. So please, right now, do not give me something that would add pressure as of the moment, because I will not be able to handle it. So you inform loved ones, inform them, because that's one way of taking care of yourself as well. Right now, I know you're also having troubles, but right now I will not be able to handle it. We will just be clashing, if we will meet where I am not in a good state, or I am in a very loaded situation. So yes, limit family's expectations as much as possible. As a counselor, I don't do counseling with loved ones. It's challenging, and I don't. So I would tell my sister, I can listen to your daughter, I can listen to your kids, for example, as an aunt, but not as a counselor. I can be an aunt to them, but don't expect me to be, functioning as a counselor to them. So yes, limit family's expectations. And then you have to make sure that you set very clear uh, goals. Now, so sometimes we really have to really like put it visually in order to make our points be understood across with another one. The tendency why we experience burnout and compassion fatigue is because we wanted to please others. Um, Not only because we have poor boundaries that we did not establish when we were young, for example, like for example, uh, when people comes into our room, they just barged in without knocking. Some people are not thought like that. So those are the things that are lead people to experience burnout. So lack of established boundaries, and then lack of understanding of your core values. If you don't know who you are, what you like, what you don't like, what you prefer, and what you accept, what you can tolerate, um, sometimes we experience burnout and compassion fatigue, because people most likely would just run us over because we did not set the right boundaries with these people. And so it's okay, you can just accept it, you can just do it, so here it is. So but if you know what you can tolerate, and we can have that or make others understand that in a way that we do not offend them, or that is not defensive, for example, but a way for you to convey to them that this is only what you can but and cannot do, and this is the things that is acceptable and not acceptable to you, and so on. So we can protect ourselves from being run down, which lead us to experience burnout and compassion fatigue. Poor emotional self-care. uh, like poor emotional self-care is like, I'm putting off, I wanted to buy this one for myself, but someone else need the money, so I have to sacrifice myself or the things that what I want. For example, I need new shoes for my job, but the money, someone asked for help, and I have to give him the money or give her the money, so I sacrifice myself instead of buying the right shoes for me, and so I suffer in the workplace because I don't have the right or the proper gear, for example, because you sacrificed yourself. So that's poor self-care, right? um, which would later on lead you to be resentful of people who asked help, uh, to the point that, my goodness, your problem is not that big. I have bigger problems. Uh, to the point that you say that. Um, that means you could be experiencing compassion fatigue and burnout already, especially if those are the kind of words that comes out into your mouth. So, how can again if we are going to look at the Bible, you could say, because some the lack of boundaries, because we want to please others, um, which lead us to experience burnout. And when we do things and evaluate who do you do it for, then we can avoid experiencing compassion fatigue and burnout. So Paul actually is asking us Paul is asking us, am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Or am I trying to please people? If I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ. So sometimes we think that giving, giving, giving to people is the right thing to do, because um, that's what God expects me to do. But the thing is, you have to evaluate, who do you do it for? Do you do it because you wanted others to be, appreciate you? Do you do it because you wanted to please someone else? Do you do it because you fear that you will get laid off, for example, from your job if you're not going to do it? If that is the motivation, then most likely you will resent what you are doing. You will feel stressed with the things that you are doing. So evaluate, who do you do the things for, and Paul, even when Paul evaluated himself, if someone else thinks they have reasons to put confidence in the flesh, I have more. You know, he focused on what who he is and what he is and so on and so forth. But in the end, he would say, uh, whatever were gains to me, I now consider loss for the sake of Christ. So these are not the things that the the pleasing people, impressing people. These are not the things that lead us actually to what I mean. This is not the things that God desires for us as we do things, as we offer our service. When we offer our service, um, when we know whom we offer our service, we would gladly, willingly do it. And if we know who we are and our purpose and our goals, for example, then we can do things in a better way without experiencing compassion fatigue and burnout. So here you seek help, be aware of the signs and symptoms of burnout. I'm not sure if I'm taking so much of your time already. Use formal support such as your family doctors, or I think your school, the hospitals are they offer free counseling. Please make or take the best of that one in order to relieve yourself. So seek help. And then be mindful. This is also very important. You pay attention. The moment when you wake up in the morning, for example, what do you do? Do you dread the day, or do you think of the things that you are grateful about the moment you open your eyes? Being mindful is you you do not just jump out of the bed after you wake up. You be still and be quiet, for example, and feel uh, the tension in your body. Which part of the body are you aching, for example? You can focus on that one, and you can relax your body. You can focus on that particular part of the body and make yourself relax. You listen to the voices, the laughter, the birds singing outside your window, for example, or the traffic. And you don't just jump out of the bed. You feel your senses with all these things and be mindful of your surroundings and so on. That's being present, not jump ahead, like thinking of oh my goodness, these are the things that I'm going to do and so on and so on. So the moment you start doing like that, anxiety anxiety rises. But if you start relaxing, you get out of your bed smiling, be grateful of the things for the good night's sleep, for example, or we pray, which is our common practice after we wake up in the morning, and stop ruminating, stop overthinking, because the moment you overthink, you started feeling negative and you started putting yourself down. So be mindful. And when you do, we have this technique in our one of our therapy, which we call stop, which is what's this? I did not include it here, but it says stop, don't react. Stop says stop and don't react. T is take a deep breath. You observe your surrounding, and P is proceed with mindfulness. That's a technique that we usually apply and encourage others to apply. So, um, in that way, you avoid yourself from overthinking or thinking negative things. Is it truly, you ask yourself, is it truly happening? Is it real? You're going to compare your thoughts to what is happening at the moment and at the present. For example, if it's not real, then stop it. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, as the Bible said in Psalm. Think of these words, feel you memorize it, you sparkle like jewels, you are his treasured possession. And breathe in, I am God's child. You, when you wake up in the morning, you feel the tension, and as you feel the tension, you take a deep breath, for example, and you inhale. As you inhale, you say, I am a God's child, and you exhale, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And doing this, was that inhaling and exhaling? Most likely, you wake up, you rise up better, than starting your thoughts with all the things that you would be planning to do and getting anxious about it. All right. So we speak as those approved by God to be entrusted with the gospel. We are not trying to please people but God, because the moment we try pleasing others, most likely we would start being anxious, we would start being resentful, we would not enjoy the things that we are doing, because if we do not get the kind of appreciation and reward we get, we started feeling negatively, and we do not enjoy what we are doing because we think that we do not get the credit that we are supposed to receive in exchange for all the things that we have done. So you have to think, who do I do it for? You know, we never used flattery, nor did we put on a mask to cover up greed. God is our witness. We are not looking for praise from people, not from you or anyone else, even though as apostles, this is Paul talking of Christ, we could have asserted our authority, he said. But no, uh, we wanted to please God. So, as you actually, I'm ending, don't worry. As you actually think this, you know, as you are actually standing, for example, imagine that you are standing and standing at the threshold or standing before God, for example. Picture that moment. You are standing before God, you're standing before His throne, and He looks over all your life, all what you have done, you know, your motivations for doing those things, and then your heart. And then He stands on His feet, and then He begins to applaud you. You may not hear appreciations. You may not hear people's applause. You may not receive the kind of things that you think that you deserve, for example. But when the Lord says, well done, good and faithful servant, all the expected things that you are hoping to receive here on earth will pale, you know, imagine standing. Even if the things that you have done you do not enjoy, but because you're doing it for God, you may not be able to hear those applause here. But when God stand up on His feet and tap you on your shoulder and says, well done, good and faithful servant. So, you may not hear the applause from others. I want you to close your eyes. Every time you feel, you know, you think that you do not deserve, you do not receive the kind of recognition that you're supposed to receive, or you the kind of appreciation that you are hoping to get for all the efforts that you have done, for example, I want you to close your eyes and hear God's applause. Even if you are just resting, you know, if you're just resting, don't worry. God approves of you. He wanted you to take time and take care of yourself and rest as well. You don't need to feel guilty about it. He approves it. Let that, you know, truth sink deeply in your soul or in your system of your brain. So draw near to Him in prayer, and He will show you how He wants you to live and how He wants you to serve Him. So be still and listen to the applause of your Heavenly Father. And when you focus on Him, when we focus on God, most likely we will be feeling the peace that we are serving Him well. I hope this things give you the idea on how you're going to protect. I know it's a bit long. I was not conscious about the time, but thank you very much for inviting me, and thank you for listening and for watching this lecture. I hope you have pick up something that you could use in order to protect yourself from experiencing compassion fatigue and burnout. God bless everyone.
Okay, thank you so much, Ma'am Cherry. Why no from Thailand? No, grabe daghan kay tag
Yes,
mga nakatunan
very
karong
informative.
hapon. Yes, because
Og,
partner no kay kita mga kuan bita mga frontline daghan kay taog
Ma-relate.
makarelate kita sa
Yes.
gipangsulti ni Ma'am pareha sa mga unsay buhaton kung maka-fatigue na ta ano compassion
Unya,
no,
knowing
ma-burnout na ta.
kung ay sad ka ng mga signs ba no? Mga
Yes.
signs nga you are already naa na day ka ana nga kanang
Level.
symptoms ba nga
Oh.
mga na burnout na day ka without knowing no. So we are so thankful Ma'am Cherry May why no for giving us time once again nga makiguban sa ato adinhi sa atong AY talk. And of course, we would like to thank you also and acknowledge before that atong i-acknowledge partner no na ay isa ka question diri at the Ma'am Cherry no. We have one question here from our listener sa FB Live no ana siya Ma'am Che. Unsa man dapat buhaton kung sobra sa work dili man makatulog dayon kay ang stress na experience sa day kay balik-balik man sa utok. So she's asking kung unsaon man na pag-cope up or pag-overcome nga naa ang ihang stress sa adlaw madala niya pag matulog siya or before siya matulog dili siya makatulog dayon because she feels so stressed that day. So what can you say about that Ma'am Cherry?
If it is not, for example, no medical history of insomnia, for example, if it is insomnia, then it's a different, for example, a different approach. No, if you are experiencing insomnia, but but stress, too much stress or extreme stress can also really like lead to insomnia. Uh, One, I have read this one author who says, I leave my work outside my workplace, and then when I enter my home, I would really like condition myself that this is home, this is different. We set boundary. We limit ourselves. We don't bring our work at home. Like for example, if I am going to bring all the things that I hear from my counselee, I would feel bad as I approach my children. So you leave the work at work, and you behave at home as it is your home. Because the moment we uh, we bring our, it is very hard, of course. We sometimes bring our work at home. That's why it has to be clear to us what are our boundaries, what we can allow to ourselves, and what we do not want to allow, and what we allow to enter in our home, and what we do not allow, for example. So as I mentioned a while ago, we really need to set boundaries. So this author actually, he has this. I think some of you have heard this story already. He has this magical tree that he calls, that before he enters his house, he would hang his problem on the tree, like literally touching one of the branches on the tree, and pretends that he's hanging the problems there and leaving it outside before he enters his house. And then when he when he comes out from his house, for example, he passed by that tree again and picks up those problems and brings it back to work. So uh, sometimes we have to really like intentionally act it out. Uh, some people might find that crazy, but yes. condition your mind. Okay, before I go home, I want the problems. You be mindful. I know this problem is causing me so much stress, but before I leave my office, I wanted to leave it here, and I wanted to, for example, go home with a clear and peaceful mind. So you do the right self talk before you leave and go home. But if it's insomnia, for example, that the stress, it became a pattern already to the point that you cannot sleep. If it's insomnia, it develops into insomnia, then try practicing going to sleep at the same time. Uh, it's a simple solution, but it works. You make sure that before sleeping time, for example, um, before sleeping time, 30 minutes, actually 30 minutes before the time that you are about to sleep, you turn off all gadgets, no cell phones. You set it aside 30 minutes, and then in the span of 30 minutes, you could lie down and you could make yourself. We used to do muscle relaxation technique, like we focus on a particular tension in our shoulders. We tense it and then we relax. For example, we focus on the tension on our back, in order for us to relax, in order to help us have a or fall asleep better, for example. So there are techniques that you could try in order for you to relieve yourself on the stress so you can sleep well during that night. um, it has to You really have to precondition your mind. It takes practice. It does not happen like overnight. Like, for example, okay, I will do it tonight. It did not. The people I work, or the students I work with who has insomnia, and I thought them mindfulness and muscle relaxation, it took some time for them in order to apply it. And when they master it, it becomes easier for them to apply, and they actually like be able to have a rest at night. So practice routine, um, intentionally condition your mind not to bring your troubles on your bed, actually, not to bring your troubles on your bedtime, and you intentionally like leave it. Condition yourself that tomorrow you can just pick it up again and deal with it, but tonight I will rest. Tonight I will sleep. But you have to remember that it takes practice. And my friend who suffered from this insomnia, it took him more than a month to learn actually the technique until he was able to have a rest. You know, so it will take time. It would take practice and preconditioning in order for you to deal. I hope uh, um, it answers. I hope this approach will help you.
Okay? So,
Thank you
ma-
so much, Sister Cherry. No, thank you so much for answering that. Kay isa po na sa ako ang problem po actually, no? Kanang nga kuan di ka ayo ka maka-set sa imong
makatulog.
mind o na
So it's a matter of
setting
setting
oh,
your
mind
mind.
setting, oh.
Okay. So, ing ana siya, no? So, Sister Lisa Mendez Grate, are you satisfied? I hope so.
yeah.
Okay, so napag-iisa ka question, no? This one is from Joe Carl Boards. Okay, the question is, what if pabalik-balik ang problem sa work? Paano ma-overcome ang stress? So, kung pabalik-balik na daw yung problema sa work, o work-related problem, paano niya ma-overcome ihang stress. So partly murag na
Mo to yung na-discuss
mention naman to,
ni Sister
yes.
Cherry kaganihan, no? Iyon siya nga, dapat ikuan po ni mo imuhang sa stress relief ni mo kuan ka sa imong family, sa imong mga friends, kanang go out or extend your kuan, kanang para stress relief imuhang self para dili gid ka kuan sa imuhang
huna-huna
kaugalingon
na lang
ano nga.
jud nga ma-focus
Oh, yeah,
nimo
ma-focus
imong
ka.
self dinha sa imong stressor, no, try to go out with friends. Murag mao na siya ang nahisgutan pud isa ni Ma'am Cherry. And I
Moto,
think
stay healthy. Ayan siya, gikuan po ni
Yes.
Doc, no? Stay healthy. Since ang atong health, magod ang ato ang puhunan yun sa atong work. Labi na sa ato ang mga frontliners, kay daghan kay tag mga reklamo, nga mga dawatan. Labi na, diha sa atong mga nurses, no? Sa atong mga
Yes,
nurse
no?
stations,
Daghan kay mga
nga nagapaminaw, labad sa ulo. And daghan, jud kayo, og sa atong mga finance committee po, sa atong billers, labi na sa patients business director, daghan kay reklamo din ha. Kay diha gyud ang finances nga problem diha before sila magawas diha magwild ang mga tao.
Wild.
Pero kasagaran po nagwild dito apod sa stations, no, daghan kay nagproblema diha. Pero after ana nga mga problems, ingon pa dito ni Sister Cherry or Ma'am Cherry nga ato gyud i-stress relief, i-set imong mind nga para dili siya magbalik-balik man sa imong mind, pero ang imong work is within that day, imong i-kuan yun, i-clean nga happy ka paggawa sa imong office.
yes,
No, nga
and partner, I
end
like
your
the
day.
idea of hanging your burden that day on a tree.
Yeah.
It sounds funny, pero murag maka-relieve siya, right?
Yes, oo.
Kay imo ra siyang ibilin. Something iset nimo imong mind nga, oy, diha ra ka ha? Kay ugma na punta magkita otro, something
Yes.
like that, no? Para nga in times nga naa na ka sa inyohang balay, so you can deal with your house problem na pod sa imuha
Yes.
na pod kang husband, kung minyo ka or kung naa na mo'y baby, so dito na pod ka sa imuhang mga anak na pod nga mga attention nimo. So ingana siguro partner, no? I
Yes,
think.
partner. Okay, so wala na kita igong panahon, dili na yun makuan
Yes,
nindot
daghan
yun
pa
ang
unta
topic.
gyud kaayo,
Oo,
yes.
pero atong pasalamatan gyud nagikauban si Ma'am Cherry, Ma'am Che, for giving us your time. Kabalumi nga busy gyud kayo ka, pero you have given us this opportunity, gitagaan gyud mig chance nga makikuyog ka sa amo karong hapon.
Yes,
din
and
hiya
we
sa tong
are so
AY
thankful.
Talks.
And also, partner, I want to acknowledge also ang mga persons nga nagkauban na to hangtod niining mga orasan. No, thank you so much for staying with us
Yes.
and for tuning in. And I hope and pray nga naagyud mo'y natun-an sa naagyud. No,
Yes,
naagyud tayo
daghan
na
jud.
nga tun-an. Ug
Daghan jud tayo
atong
natuyo.
ma-practice. Right? Unya ang ato apong mga technical team, no, nga naa nakiguban sa ato, nag-help sa ato
Yes,
ato pong
kauban sila
pasalamatan.
Pastor Kenneth Bayola and to ang sa iyang mga kauban Brother
Exeron.
Exeron, no?
Yeah.
Daghan po na sila din na. And thank you so much for joining with us.
So we cannot mention all your names, but no nga we appreciate much your time.
Yeah, but before we ask Ma'am kung
We
ano
end.
we end,
Okay,
no, but
before we end.
we will ask also to we'd like to give this virtual lang din siya kay wala bang yun si Ma'am or
Ma'am Cherry,
Doc, pwede
yes.
naman Doc na siguro atong itawag ani kay padayon hapit na magini siya, no? Doc Cherry, we would like to give this certificate of appreciation virtually among ihatag din sa imuha through Ma'am Jai, ka-partner Jai, si Ma'am Jai lang maghatag
of
sa imuha.
course.
And we'll give this certificate of appreciation, and I would like to read. Certificate of appreciation is presented to Cherry May Huayno for being the guest speaker during AY Talks with the topic pouring from an empty cup, burnout and compassion fatigue at Amci Ay Fellowship Center Church. Given this 26th day of February 2022 at AMCA Fellowship Center Church, Andres Bonifacio Street, San Miguel, Iligan City, Lanao del Norte. Signed, Jeffrey Vallespin, AY Leader, Church Elder Brian Rubilios, and our church pastor, Pastor Victor Navarro. And ma'am, please help, I hope nga imo ning accept ang mahang humble certificate nga isip pagpasalamat po sa imong time nga imong gihatag kanamo karon.
Yes, so thank you so much, Ma'am Cherry, Ate May. Salamat gyud kayo sa imuhang panahon, and I hope nga next time sa amo ang mga stress related or psychology something ang mga topics amo ra gihapon kang ma-invite o yes, so partner, no?
Yes, I hope nga dili makuan matagam. Dili
Yes.
matagam si Ma'am Cherry, Ma'am Che.
Thank you very much for the certificate, and thank you again for inviting me. Really appreciate.
And actually kauban yun na pud nato si Ma'am Che before, no? Daghan pa
Yes.
before Sabbats ago nga nakikuyog po siya sa atoa. And thank you so much for that time, ma'am. Wala gid pud ko ato nga panahon, no? Pero ako mga kauban na agi dinhi, and pasalamat pud mi ato nga time sa imuha. And of course, atong mga viewers, thank you so much for joining with us, and see you next Sabbath. But before that, we'll give the time to Brother Brian Robillos for our church elder for the closing remarks, and then it will be followed by the closing prayer by Sister Dondel Robillos, and our closing song will follow. Atong ihatag panahon kay Brother Brian Robillos.
Okay, mayong hapon sa tanan. So niabot na gyud ta sa time sa pagtapos sa to ang AY program, no? Sa to via virtual. So magpasalamat ko sa mga una gyud sa atong mga viewers nga naglantaw. Actually, mura lang mi og mahimong mga walay kuan din, no? Magsa istorya lamig nga walay viewers, but thank you kayo sa inyo kay inyo may gi-suportahan. Salamat usab sa ato ang speaker overseas pa gyud, no? Salamat ta pinagi niyan technology karon nga bisan paglagyo ato mga speaker makahimo sila sa pag sulti, no? Madunggan nato via internet. So gamit gyapon ni nga mga technology karon. And sa atong mga kaubanan usab dinhi sa studio, no? Salamat po sa inyo ang suporta. Dili po ni mahimo kung walay mga naga-operate dinhi. And salamat kila Brother Jeff and Sister Janet sa pag-host, no, sa ato ang AY program. Actually, mga kaigsunan, thankful kayo ta sa message. Hopefully nga kung doon na may gusto ninyo balik-balikon or nakalimtan ninyo ang mensahe, or gusto ninyo ma-relieve sa inyong mga burden, inyo lang ning i-search, no, sa Facebook aron ma-refresh mo pagbalik sa message nga gi-share sa toa ni Ma'am Huayno, no? Nindot kayo ang mensahe, mga kaigsunan. So ako nang ibalik, no, para sa toang closing prayer ni Sister Dondel.
Okay, for our closing prayer, shall we close our eyes? Shall we pray? Our most gracious and kind Heavenly Father, thank you for this AY program, dear Lord, for the success of our program. And thank you also for the health message. Hope that we can apply it in our daily lives. And as we depart from this place, as we end our virtual program, may you bless us and guide us always. Thank you, dear Lord, for loving us. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
When I see the King of Kings, I wanna give praise to Him. When I feel the touch of love of God. All that I want is to be with Him, Almighty God. We glorify Your name. There is no other one like You, the one we can lean on to. Love that He gave to us, it stays forever. We'll be together. If we trust to the Lord our God. When times of troubles come our way, He always hears our prayers. Come to Him, rejoice, so tender. Jesus is the blessed Redeemer. For the Lord we live, His power and love to bear. There is no other one like You, the one we can lean on to. Love that He gave to us, it stays forever. We'll be together. If we trust to the Lord our God. If our faith is gone, we can never take the place that He has done. We must find our ways. Is there in heaven we can live in peace? There is no other one like You, the one we can lean on to. Love that He gave to us, it stays forever. We'll be together. If we trust to the Lord our God. Trust to the Lord